Okay, let's get through some more 6-3 stuff. We can talk about 6-4. And after that, you've got a spring break. Am I right about that? I've got this here in the old modules here. I didn't misplace it, right? Is it right? Kind of want to double check that. Sorry, I'm a little. I appreciate your vote of confidence. I don't have as much confidence in me. It's the week of the 18th, right? Okay. Just double check that. All right. So we have a break after that, and then we come. Oh, push the wrong button. Then we come back and we go into some Chapter 7 stuff. We have 2 weeks of that here and here. Now, these two, no, none of those are available. That quiz and those 2 quizzes, which I think I'm going to try to merge into one quiz so it's a little easier to manage, are not yet available. Still working a bit on them, but I've got some time to get them set up. And then after that, it's Chapter 8. And there are technically 2 quizzes here, but I'm merging those for sure. And Chapter 10, technically 2 quizzes listed here on my screen. It's not available to you. You can't see that. But they'll be merged as well, just to one quiz. And then we have that. Excuse me. Those are irrelevant. And elsewhere elsewhere in the class. We'll have the same pattern we had for the midterm in the last 2 weeks of class. Dead week here, final exam review, and the final exam at the end. Great, so we're heading forward here. Let's talk about 6-3. What kinds of questions have given you trouble or that you want to go over? One or the other. And if we really don't have a lot to talk about, we can go through pretty quickly and go on to 6-4. It's up to you. Any requests? Did I already make the joke that I don't do Piano Man or whatever when I ask for requests? And can't track, which lame joke I've used in a given semester. It all kind of blends together in a groaner haze. Yeah, Jesse. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see if we can find one here. TEU, and specifically with respect to conversion. Well, here's one. Is this going to be okay, or is there like different set of details that would be better suited to what you're looking for?
It's kind of like that, with like also like all of them are added to beginning with like more percentages of it's like split into like 2 parts.
Okay. Let's look, see if we got another one. This is kind of this one?
Kind of like that, yeah.
Okay, so rather do this one then?
Yeah.
All right. Let's attack this one. And look, I'm not even teasing anybody on this one with the cannot be determined. We know for sure it can be determined from the information here. So let's set up screens. All right, so we know that we're going to get from the question stem here total equivalent units with respect to conversion costs for the month in question. We have the information here that helps us understand what the physical units are and then how they're flowing through this company for the period, so we can get units completed out of this paragraph. And then down here we have a bunch of information about the percent complete for these different units. With respect to direct materials, right here, and with respect to conversion costs, the rest of the paragraph. And we're only worried about the conversion costs, so we can ignore the fact that everything's out at the beginning of the process for direct materials or raw material in this phrasing. I picked the wrong one here. I need this. Oh. Okay, so this is FIFO TEU. Nope. Here. FIFO TEU conversion cost question. All right, so the firm has 40,000 beginning WIP units, it says. Yeah, for the month it had 40,000 at the beginning of the month, and then adds 180,000 in the middle, 60,000 as ending WIP here. Great. So we can get units completed right there. It's old hat stuff. We're 3 weeks into this. Got that down. And I'll copy down the information here about percents complete. The 40,000 is 65% complete with respect to conversion costs. And the 60,000 is 40% complete with respect to conversion costs. And since that's all we're worried about, I'm not going to do any labeling or put in direct materials or anything like that. Let's not make it too complicated. So the TEU equation for FIFO is units completed minus beginning WIP equivalent units plus ending WIP equivalent units. All right, so we have units completed already right here. Now let's figure out beginning WIP equivalent units. That is our beginning WIP times 8% complete, which for conversion costs is 65% complete. And our ending WIP equivalent units is our ending WIP physical units times their percent complete. And for conversion costs, that's 40% complete. So these are our two equivalent units for beginning WIP and ending WIP. And we can calculate TEU like this. Units completed minus beginning WIP and plus ending WIP. This is TU CC under FIFO. So that's the extent of the question there. Great. Now, one of the tricky parts is if you have this equation in your brain floating around there, you're like, oh, I add units started plus beginning WIP, and I subtract away ending WIP. And this equation looks similar in many ways. There's something about units, some big number about units, and you're subtracting beginning WIP and adding ending WIP. So it's easy for people to get flipped around and try to, in TEU equation, add beginning WIP and subtract ending WIP, just like you do right here. And say, oh, well, of course we're adding and subtracting just like we do. No, they're two separate calculations we're doing. This is to figure out the physical units that are going to fill out the plug, and this is to figure out the denominator for our rate, excluding the beginning WIP equivalent units right here. So if you find yourself making that mistake a lot, it might help to write down that equation, both the equations if you want, to make sure you've got it on a notes paper or something like that. Yeah, no, it's fine. Beginning WIP units plus units started plus ending WIP units. So you can have them and make sure you follow the equation exactly. Ooh, I did it wrong. Wrote it down wrong. Write it down right, and then follow the equation exactly as you go through the process. So we plugged this cell right here is following this equation on top, and this cell down here is following this equation on bottom. I'll phrase it so that it makes it most clear why you might mix them up. There. Here's a big units number plus beginning WIP, and here's big units number minus beginning WIP, and here up here is minus ending WIP, and here's plus. Yes. So the signs are reversed on these two equations. Don't get them mixed up. There we go. All right. Well, how about for completeness, we do a rates question in addition. And then if there aren't other requests, we'll just move on to the next thing. We got two kind of comprehensive ones, one of which is a dumpling style one. All right, let's go with this one. A little harder. We got it though. FIFO, TEU, rates, dumpling. All right, and I'm going to give you a couple minutes and let you work on it. Seems like we've got a decent level of confidence here in the class, which is great. It's great to hear. So we are looking for direct material cost per equivalent unit. I'll scroll back up, and I'll move this. I'll make this full screen and move this over so that only Anonymous Crow and Anonymous Loris can see what I'm doing over here. So yeah, go ahead and work on this problem. want to work on it a little more. One more time. Okay. I was joined by 3 more anonymous critters up here. A dingo, a hedgehog, and a quokka? Quokka? What is a quokka?
It's a marsupial native to Rottnest.
Cool. I didn't know that. There's one right there. There it is. Okay. Well, whoever you are, congratulations. You probably don't know which one you're anonymous when you. I don't. When I get to one, I'm like, oh, it just has my name up there. So one of you might be. All right. Here's what I have. Well, did anybody else get 14.56 at rounds 2? My current period's off. Oh. 50. Does that look right now? Look what we got. Thank you. Thanks, Luke. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I inverted. I put 639 instead of 369. Great. All right. 117. Okay. We should have 14.53 at rounds 2. Direct materials dollars per equivalent unit. All right. So I'll just go through real quick. I figured units completed. I wrote down all the information first of all from here. And then I really cheated and copied over all my stuff from above, but I double checked it. Make sure it still was working. So we have our TEU equation and our beginning WIP equivalent units. Oh, when I say copied down, I skipped over a step here. I copied down this much, calculated this, but also I put in here the dumpling rule that we have here. All direct materials are added when units are 20% complete with respect to conversion costs. And so I put in if this is over 21%, then this is 100% complete. If not, it's 0% complete. So since both beginning WIP and ending WIP are over 21% complete, then both our beginning WIP and ending WIP direct materials percent complete is 100%. Great. And so we get the special rule. We get to use our special rule, which is, hey, if this saves you time, great. If not, just ignore it. When both ending WIP and beginning WIP direct materials are 100% complete under FIFO only, not under weighted average, but under FIFO here, then TEU is going to equal the units started. And that's exactly what we get here. Because of that very thing that was going to confuse us before, units completed equals units started plus beginning WIP minus ending WIP, and TEU equals that units completed, which we can just place those 3 terms in for units completed there, minus beginning WIP plus ending WIP, and you have ending WIP and beginning WIP canceling each other out only when the equivalent units of beginning WIP are equal to the physical units, which is when they're 100% complete with respect to direct materials, for example. And ending WIP is equivalent to the physical units. The equivalent units are the same as the physical units right there. And so all that's left is units started when we do that algebraically. I went over that in class yesterday. I did try to write it out on the board. I tried to write it out on the board. But that's the rule in the end, is if they're both 100% complete in FIFO, like right here and here, then TEU equals units completed. And if they're 0% complete, TEU equals, I said it wrong. Let me go back. When they're 100% complete, it's equal to units started. And when they're 0% complete, it's equal to units completed. Just under FIFO because of the way all this plays out. Great. And then once I got the right number in the numerator, I am only including this amount right here because, as we're going to talk about in 6-4, this right here, we set aside. It was the first cost in. It's got to be the first cost out. So we're going to make sure we don't include it in the rate. The rate is used to divvy up costs for this period's work between our units completed and our ending WIP units. If some of that beginning WIP cost ends up in ending WIP units, it's not going out first. So we're breaking the rule of the name. It was first in, but it's not going first out. So it has to go all of it to units completed. So we're going to set it aside. We're not going to include it in the numerator of our rate here, just current period costs right here. And sometimes I'd like to say we're going to take it and we're going to send it into orbit. So it's gone while we do all our work for this period's rates. And at the end, it'll come right back around in orbit at the last stage of our process. So let's just take it, send it into orbit, forget it for a minute while we work on our rates for this period. And that's what we did right there. We took our TEU denominator and divided our numerator of current period costs by that to get 14.525, which rounds to 14.53. Quick questions on that? With the modifications for FIFO, this is like the third week you're doing it. So I'm glad. If there aren't questions, that's okay. Yeah, Chase.
What would your process be if it gives you the TEU for like direct materials and conversion costs up front? How would you separate those two? Like, there's one problem that just gives you the TEU for both.
Can I peek at it real quick? Yeah, so it gives you. Yeah. So that's. I'm saying there that the percents complete for conversion costs and direct materials are the same. So TEU is the same for both of those. So what is it asking at the end? The question stem there at the end?
Direct materials cost per equivalent unit.
Yeah, so just use that number as your direct materials TEU. Yeah. Yeah, I got an email question about a question like that. I think it was during 6-1. And what I don't mean that 9808 number that was there is the total equivalent units of direct materials plus the direct material total equivalent units of conversion costs or whatever. It's not like the sum. It's just that's the number for both those categories. All right. Well, I'm going to push submit and move on to 6-4. Okay. Great. Let's see. We answered 2 questions. Let's see if we get 5 points. Okay, good. I tell you, I mean, usually I get these, but every time I scroll down, it's just a little bit of a heart attack, just in case. All right, let's look now at 6-4. So we'll look at the material first of all. I already kind of went through what we do when I first introduced FIFO on Monday. Let's review that pretty quickly. So we've got our FIFO rates based on our FIFO TEU, and based on this new definition of the numerator, which is just current period costs. And we get our FIFO rate, like we just calculated a second ago in this problem down here. 14.53, we say. Great. And 15.12 in this example right here. Now, to repeat again what I said Monday, we take that rate and we multiply it by this number right here, the equivalent units completed with this period's work. It's not the same. Wait. Let me step back for a second. Hold on. Remember, the whole idea is to get the dollar amounts in beginning WIP and current period costs divvied up between ending WIP and units completed. And figure out how much goes to each one, right? And the rates help us do that. The great news is, first of all, this situation is exactly the same. We've got our rate, and now under FIFO, our rate is just based on current costs. Take your rate, multiply it by ending WIP equivalent units, and that's the dollar amount in ending WIP equivalent. In ending WIP. Sorry, tripping on my words today for some reason. I don't know. That's exactly what we did under weighted average. The only difference was in steps 1 and 2, getting the rates in the first place. But once you got the rates, you just multiply those rates by the ending WIP equivalent units. So the same process. Don't overcomplicate it. That process stays the same. Great. Transfer that knowledge 100% over. This is the process that has changed. We have to use a different units completed because we're not actually talking about all the units completed. We're talking about the equivalent units completed with this period's work, which is our units completed minus our beginning WIP equivalent units. Remember, under weighted average, we had this, what I said was this beautiful nature of it. It's the best eloquent way to say this beauty of it, that we're divvying out costs to this category and to this category at the end, the two factors that make up the denominator. Well, the same thing is true under FIFO. We have our TEU equation, which is units completed minus beginning WIP equivalent units plus ending WIP equivalent units. And we are going to divvy out costs for this period's work to these two groups. So that's the same. I just said that a second ago. You can 100% transfer your knowledge from weighted average to how that cost is applied. This, once you get past the idea that this is our new term, we're going to largely follow that process as well. So this reflects the work, the equivalent units worth of work we did with this period's work. And FIFO draws a hard line between last period's work and this period's work. That's the whole punchline of the process. And so we're going to take this period's rates and multiply it by 19,640, which is only this period's work. It's 20,000 units completed minus the beginning WIP equivalent units, because the beginning WIP equivalent units were equivalent units completed last period with last period's rate. Keep that separate. We only want to apply the rates to this period's work, which is this term together. Units completed minus the beginning WIP equivalent units. All right, and so then we get this number right here. And that's when we add it back in. Now we've got, so that is this right here, our new units completed, which is with this period's work. And that's when beginning WIP, from the top rung comes back in orbit. How's that for a mixed metaphor? Comes back in orbit. Then we add in our beginning WIP costs at the very end there. And together they make our cost of units completed. All right there. So those problems right there where I'm asking you to comprehensively go through FIFO, and at the end I'm asking you for the cost of units completed, I think those are the hardest questions in the course. At the very least, they have the most steps. Now, I recognized a few years ago that I thought they were the hardest questions in the course, which is why we've spent 4 weeks leading up to this. Step by step by step, and you've mastered each of these along the way, which is great. So I don't think it's going to be a huge hurdle. The top step to the summit of Mount Everest is not really that big of a step. It's the fact that it was preceded by 20,000 steps and very little oxygen before that is a big part of the problem. So I don't think this is insurmountable. You can use lots of information you have from before to this, and we have this one modification, or these modifications that we have to apply, like what we show up there. So let me walk through a question like that. Let me.
Will we ever have a question where transferred in is not the same percent as direct material?
I wanted to say no. I'm pretty sure when I wrote the questions, I just always treated them that way.
So if I see transferred in, I can just kind of pretend it's direct material. I know it's not, but when I'm doing the math of it,
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, read to make sure, but I'm almost certain that I write them that way. Yeah. I guess that's the nature of most of the process. I wrote them that way because I wanted to reflect what happens in practice. So one department works on something, and transferred in costs reflect the work that was done in that department before it goes to the next department. And so they really are transferring a material half-completed widget over to the next department. So it's a direct material, really, is what it is. It's a special class because it's not a direct material. We as the second department of the process are buying and applying to this widget to finish it. It's direct material that was worked on in a previous department. And so I think I just always treat them as a direct material. And I think all the questions have you start them at the beginning of the process. They're all added at the beginning of the process, I think. I don't think I have a dumpling transferred in process or transferred in question. That's what I'm trying to say. I could. I'd have to look back. It was a year or two ago when I renovated that test bank last. And so my memory might be failing me, but I'm pretty sure all the transferred in costs questions treat transferred in costs as if they are added at the very beginning of the process, so they're 100% complete. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm misspeaking and you're like, oh, no, I see questions where that isn't the case, please let me know. You can tell me now or email me later or whatever. I can update that. Yeah, let's look at a problem here. Okay, so this is a good problem because it's just showing that last step to the top of Everest, if you will. This is really Everest, but to the top of a smaller mountain. We already have our rate. We did all the work to get our FIFO TEU, and we used the FIFO numerator, and this is our FIFO rate for direct materials per equivalent unit. Great. Now we just need to use this to figure out the direct materials cost of units completed and transferred out. We need to use this number, and then the second step, we need to use this number. So we'll set ourselves up here. All right, this is no name. Just step number 3 problem. Because I already have rates. And that rate is 75 cents. So that is our DM per equivalent unit rate. Now, our completed units are 131, 150. Look, I already did that for you. I didn't make you create a T account of units to figure out what the units completed. I gave you completed units. In fact, I bolded it because I think sometimes this box will include a different description here. It will say something else and give you a number. So this has changed from version to version of the questions. I want to point that out so you're not confused when it's changed. This is units completed. Right, and we also have our beginning WIP. Physical units, 150, and beginning WIP percent complete with respect to direct materials, is 0.8. Just copying over from the problem, this part right here. Yes. Oh. Okay. So this is 9,900. Thank you. 9,900, and this is 0.6. I was about to be really, really confused. Thank you. Okay, and so we need to apply this rate to units completed minus beginning WIP equivalent units. So what is that? Equivalent units completed with this period's work, that big long name, is simply calculated by units completed minus beginning WIP equivalent units. So what is that? Units completed minus the physical units times 8% complete. So that is our equivalent units completed with this period's work. Now, is that one of the tempting answers here? No, I've gotten something wrong here. What's going on? Copy something else off wrong here? Because none of those answers is anywhere near here. 0.75. Oh, I know what's happening. Oh, excuse me. I haven't multiplied it by the rate. So that is that. So yes, this is labeled right. This is the equivalent units completed with this period's work. This is the direct materials cost for equivalent units completed with this period's work. With all its lovely typos there. There. Okay. So yeah. First of all, we got units completed minus beginning WIP complete units. That's our number. We're going to multiply the rate by. And then once we multiply the rate by that number, we get $93,907.50. And we'd be tempted. This is tempting. Oh no, the light, it's so beautiful. Don't do it. Remember, we set those beginning WIP costs in orbit. So we could do all of our work for this period's rate, figure out our TEU for FIFO and our rate for FIFO to get this number right here. And it's going to come back here at the very end and have to be added in. 86.50 is our beginning WIP cost. And we have to add it to our direct materials cost for any units or equivalent units complete with this period's work. Yeah. What's up, Sage? Right here. Yeah, no problem.
The main difference between this and the old one is just you have to be with as the last step at the end. Instead of like including it as a numerator.
Yeah.
Right? Everything else.
All right, so this now is our DM cost of units completed. There you go. So that's the right answer right there. Okay, so I mean, yes, we do have this extra step. The other thing to remember, Jack, you're saying the two main differences are that we have to multiply our rate by this number instead of this number. But then the second biggest thing is that we have to remember to add it back in the beginning of costs. Yes, because we did not include them in the numerator for the rate. All right. Well, not too crazy. Yeah. All right. Well, then let's attack a comprehensive question. Let's go ham here. And you know what? I'll work on it over here so that only the quokka or whoever. Oh, everyone's changed. Wow. Got a crow, dingo, hedgehog, a name. What's the name? Iguana, chameleon, platypus, duck. Got more people watching me here. Let's have you work on this problem here, and I'll work on it over here. It'll probably take a minute or so longer than usual because it's got more steps, and this is the first time we've kind of asked you to do a problem here. So let's go ahead and give ourselves a couple minutes, good couple minutes, and work on this problem. Oh, typing the wrong thing. All right. Anyone diligently working on it once more time? Or less than diligently working on it, but once more time still? I saw kind of a nod. Yeah? Okay. We'll give another little bit here. We about ready? A little bit more here. Well, who felt like they got the right? They feel pretty confident they got the right. Okay, who got an answer? How about that? Okay, we got some answers. Who has a low level of confidence, at least in their answer? A medium level of confidence? About their high level of confidence? That's very wise of you. That's good. I appreciate your wisdom and being, it's the first time I've done it here live, so I won't have high level of confidence. But yeah, medium. That's fair. That's fair. That's good. Anybody want to venture forth with their answer? What they got? Yeah. Yeah.
Is it $11,271.70?
That's what I got too. Yeah. Okay. The other people get that? You got that? Did you get that? Oh, okay. But we're close. That sounds real close, though. Did you round your rates at all before? No. Okay. If that isn't the issue, then don't. Okay. All right. Yeah. That's what I got too. All right. So let's walk through this. If you're following along in the spreadsheet, you see that it took so many rows to do. So yeah, this is why each step is like maybe addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. The things you learned back when you were this tall. But we've got like 20 steps of them, and you've got to do the right terms for each of those and pick them just right. So that's where the difficulty comes in. So, all right. So I started copying over the fact pattern right here. And what's conversion costs. And then I said, I know from this sentence that direct materials are all 100% complete. Then I figured units completed. That's old hat now. We got that. And just for completeness, I wrote out the total equivalent units. And then I calculated them. If you were watching the thing, I know I did something weird at the end where I copied and pasted them to rearrange them. That's because when I started, I did CC first. And then I realized at the end, I'm like, if I'm going to go over these, they're going to be in the opposite order, direct materials, then conversion costs. So I copied and pasted and reversed them. So yeah, we have direct materials first, because I know eventually we're going to need that order. That'll be easier to copy over at least. So our total equivalent units for direct materials is our units completed minus the beginning WIP equivalent units, which is our physical units, times their percent complete, plus the ending WIP equivalent units, which is our ending WIP units, physical units, times their percent complete. And so we get 584 for direct materials, which units started because they're 100% complete, right? That's the little rule of thumb. And for conversion costs, there's no real rule of thumb there. Because usually there's a percent complete with respect to conversion costs. So we have our units completed minus our beginning WIP equivalent units, which is our beginning WIP physical units, times their percent complete, which is 40%. And plus our ending WIP equivalent units, which is our ending WIP physical units, times their percent complete, which is 33%. So great, we got our two denominators, and I just copied over from the problem our two numerators, and I rearranged them so they're in the order. I did something a little goofy over here. I put in, just so I'd remember, I'm also going to copy over our beginning WIP numbers right here, so I remember them later, keeping track of them, and I'm setting them aside. And then calculating the rate, just the numerator over the denominator, we get our DM rate. Same thing for conversion costs. Our numerator of current period conversion costs over the denominator of total equivalent units with respect to conversion costs. And then I did our funky little quick calculation of equivalent units completed with this period's work with respect to direct materials. So it's units completed minus, I'll go back over, beginning WIP equivalent units, which is 129 times 1. We get 419. We're going to multiply the direct materials rate by that right here. Multiply the direct materials by this period's work, basically, that was done. 419 equivalent units was this period's work. And then we do the same thing with conversion costs. All right, equivalent units is units completed minus the beginning WIP equivalent units, which is the product of these two cells right here. So we end up with 496.4. More work was done to complete those units with respect to conversion costs, because there's more beginning whip work that was not done last period. And then multiply our CC rate by that figure, that equivalent units completed with this period's work. All right, we don't stop there. We don't sum those. Not yet, because we got to bring these beginning whip costs back from orbit. Direct materials comes back, and we can sum that beginning whip cost and the cost done with this period's work for the equivalent units completed with this period's work, and sum the conversion costs, beginning whip conversion costs with the conversion costs for equivalent units completed with this period's work. And the sum of all of that is where we get the 11,271.73. Any cells you want me to highlight, look back at?
I have a question about a different thing from you.
Yeah, sure.
So it's kind of like a full process thing. The thing that I'm gonna so it's asking for total cost of things completed and transferred out, which is that's fine. The only thing is that it tells you the total DWIP cost of 25,000. It doesn't say like 25,000 for direct materials, 25,000 for conversion. But I know I'm going to be the end of the question asks for total, so I know I have to do direct materials and conversion and add them together. So am I adding that 25,000 or am I doing it once at the end? You know what I'm saying?
I think so.
If
I have a question.
Wait, go back to 5. I might actually do that.
This one doesn't have
it
any
doesn't have any
beginning whip costs listed.
But it's that. But
That's
it's that
that's
question.
style.
It's that question though. It's just it gives.
It'd be good to really look at it. Let's look at it. Let's try and find it, or something similar with different numbers.
Yeah.
So we get this one right, or what we get? We answered just one question, right? We got it right. Looks like. Oh wait, I never typed in this one. Sorry. So we didn't get it wrong, or no, down here. We didn't necessarily get it wrong, but we didn't confirm that we got it right either. Sorry. All right, let's try and find your question here.
Mine is question 5, so maybe it should be around. Oh, yeah, that.
Okay. Yeah. So it kind of phrases this way right here is your question. What does it mean by this?
I don't know if I'm using it twice or if I'm
Just the once. This must mean this is the sum of those two. Yeah. So luckily we can figure this out without needing to know the breakdown. So we could have solved this one by summing we could have summed these and could have summed these. So now we have total beginning whip costs, which is exactly what it says right here. We have total beginning whip costs, and if we now sum those and those, we end up with the same answer. Yeah. So that's all it's trying to say. I hope I wrote the question that way, because that's definitely how it's phrased. So yeah, complete everything else. This is just the total amount of those two satellites in orbit that's going to come back at the end. Just added it in as one thing. Yes, just once. Okay. So yeah, what do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 over here. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 14, 15, 16 calculations for this problem. And then I put 4 over here on this hand because you have to remember to set these two aside in the first place. That's 2 of them, and you have to remember to bring them back at the end. But that's part of the other calculation. So 16, if we're just talking about calculations itself, and then 4 kind of memory things you have to remember to facilitate those calculations. So yeah, a lot of steps in this one, in this kind of problem. I think personally that we're done for the day. We climbed Everest. I mean, I can't ask for more after we ascended to Everest. So So let's be done with the day. We've already talked about 6-. Wait, it seems like we didn't have any more additional questions about 6-3. If you do, please come after class or email me. It's due Friday. And then 6-4, we got to jump on it. We're kind of getting prepped here. What likely we'll do is continue to talk about 6-4 because I think we'll have some questions and want to go over more examples of those questions, the problems on Monday. And even though spring break is between us and Chapter 7, probably next week we'll start talking about the theory behind Chapter 7 and remind you of variance analysis and standard costing from your intro class. Thank you.